Hey boys and girls, I just got through watching the new Critters, a new Binge TV series on Shudder. Let's talk. So this was more of a small web series than an actual TV series. It's only showing on Shudder. So you can only watch it on there at the minute. I even checked some of the sort of unofficial download links, and it doesn't seem to be like anybody sort of grabbed it and put it on there even. What was really annoying is that Shudder, though they said they were going to have it available to the UK, USA and various other places, it is only available on the USA version of Shudder at the minute. So even though I went and signed up, it wasn't there. I had to use a sort of backdoor method to access the American Shudder. I don't know whether I should say that or not. But I'm glad I did, because it was quite funny. It's not a real Critters film. It's kind of like one of the fan-made programs. So like they've taken the Critters films, which sort of went up and down in their sequels, and instead of trying to mimic or recapture what was good about them, they have just sort of gone off with their own sort of ideas. And a lot of it is very tongue-in-cheek, which is also very good, because the original ones, the first one was quite serious, the second one was very tongue-in-cheek, like very overly comical, with the naked women and the sheriff in the bunny outfit. So they did definitely do that. And then in the third one, they started to vocalize the critters a lot more. There was a lot more talking going on, although it sort of stepped back from the comedy a little bit. And then the fourth one, again, they tried to make it a bit darker. The critters didn't talk quite as much. There was a lot more blood involved. So each time they've made the films, they've sort of changed it slightly to see what works. This hasn't done that. They have made new critters, new puppets, not done by the same people that did the original Critter films. The storyline is really interesting. I am going to do two parts this film. I'm going to do a spoilers one as well, which won't be in this film. I won't do any spoilers in this film, but I will do a spoiler sort of film, because I do have to talk about what happened with you guys that have seen it at the end. I mean, I thought that was interesting. So saying no more about that, what I will say is the critters are new. They have given them a lot of dialogue. They've humanized them very much so. So they have almost human sense of humours and things like that. It's very, very tongue-in-cheek. There's a few things that are a little bit annoying. If you're going to make a film that's tongue-in-cheek, then your technical aspects need to be there in the filming, and the special effects and so on. Otherwise, people won't give it any sort of credit. It'll just be a really poorly made B film. So if they're going to do a tongue-in-cheek style program, they should have really focused a lot more on the technical aspects, so that it could be that any flaws in that could be overlooked and you could just focus on the film. But right in the first episode, or the first and second episode, there's some really poor use of green screen going on, where the bounty hunters land in Australia instead of America, and they have to run, which they overlook the fact that there's obviously a big sea between America and Australia. They just arrive like a few episodes later, but they have to run from Australia all the way to America to catch up with the Krites. But there's a bit where they're sort of running, and it's like something off kids TV. You know, they're running and there's a sort of high resolution image in the background with no sort of movement, and then they are very, very sharp, but the background's out of focus. It's just so obvious that it's a green screen, really. And green screens are okay, but you have to work a lot at them to get them to work properly. There's another few elements that I think they should have worked on as well, such as the movement of the critters. They should have made them a little bit more fluid and not so clunky, and it would have been then another thing to overlook. You know, there's a couple of times in the program where you'd sort of drawn yourself back in to the idea of saying, well, they're puppets. You're thinking they're puppets. So, and that's bad because it takes away from the film. You want to just go along with whatever's being said by them, and there's subtitles, so you have to read what they're saying because obviously they have their own language. So when you're sort of focusing so much on them, it becomes obvious that they're sort of someone's doing that up inside them. It sort of takes away from it. But the good points are it's quite funny actually. Towards the end, there's some really funny moments that are kind of crazy. And it doesn't take itself seriously. It's a good thing because I don't see this as a direct sort of sequel to the other films. It's supposed to be. I heard that it's a sequel to the first film and maybe the second film, but I don't really see it like that. These are very short episodes. There's 10 of them. They're all between 8 and 10 minutes long. So, I mean, I watched it. I mean, a binge, it is a binge because you can literally watch it in the time it takes to watch a film. And maybe they wanted to make a film, but they cut it up into pieces for marketing sakes. You know, people like series now. I don't know why they went with that idea, but they're only between 8 and 10 minutes long, which it starts to become frustrating to sort of then see the Shudder logo and have to click on and go to the next episode and stuff. But what is nice is you can stop it and you don't feel like you're missing out on anything or pausing it if you're only watching it as, you know, sort of like background noise. One thing I will point out is that I thought was very odd, and I can't find any relation between them, but the original character that played Brad, this guy, is played by a guy called Scott Grimes, and I only found out the other day that he is the same as this guy off the Orville, and has been in a couple of other things, but I totally didn't. I knew I recognised him, but I totally didn't think it was Brad from Critters. So what was strange was the new main teenager in this film, this guy, looks so much like Scott Grimes, and looks like him as a child. So I was thinking, is it his son? Is it a cousin? I was wondering if there was some sort of relation. I also wondered if that was the reason they went with him, because before I started watching this and I was looking up on some of the imagery and stuff, I was thinking, are they going to try and make out that this is Brad but it's not. That's not his name. So I think it's just a coincidence, but it's really odd. If you guys know anything about it, then pop it in the comments, but I thought that was really strange. Something that's quite apparent is that the creators of this series are obvious film fans, not just horror films or Critters fans, which is kind of what you hope for, that you get a real fan of the film making the sequels or the series. But they are just film fans because this, again, this film doesn't take itself very seriously, and there's several references to other films in it during fight scenes. That you've got Terminator, you've got The Matrix, to name a few, and it's kind of, again, The Matrix sort of, when they shoot bullets at him and the critter starts going and it's flying past him, so that just shows you how unserious this film is. And I have to say, and I think I'm not one of the more super critical reviewers, but I have to say I actually enjoyed it. It was quite silly that it sort of was a pleasure. If it was a film, I'd be a lot more upset. If it was like Critters 5, I'd be very upset with this, because it isn't there, but it's quite a low budget homage to the original films. And I don't think if they suddenly came out with a Critters 5 film that you'd have to place this one in the middle of it. You wouldn't have to say, right, you actually got to watch 1, 2, 3, and 4, then go to the TV series, watch that, then go back to 5. It doesn't necessarily have to be part of it, and it is kind of more like a fan film. So, I love this stuff. I love it. It doesn't, people get caught up with the fact that it takes away from the original in remakes and things like that. It's not, it's just someone else's idea. If I got my video camera and I came up with this, and people, were really shooting it down, I'd be like, well, it's a bit of fun. I made it because I love the films, and everybody out there can sort of compare themselves to that, and that's what you should do, not really take the film so seriously. The fact that it was sort of produced by a relatively large company should mean that it has a little bit more technical ability, but maybe they didn't want to spend too much on it. Maybe it was a bit of a gamble. And yeah, I have to say, I was quite surprised. I thought it was going to be terrible. There was certainly parts of it that were, oh God, roll your eyes sort of thing. So I could have done it better technically. But that doesn't mean that you should be upset with it, so watch it. I think you should watch it, and if you sort of watch it with thinking, oh, I'm not going to take it too seriously, the filmmakers didn't take it too seriously, so I'm not going to take it too seriously. I'm just going to watch it and see what this person's idea on how the sort of thing, the storyline should evolve, again, which I'm going to talk about in the spoiler review. That's their take on the universe, like how it evolved from the critters to now. So watch it, tell me what you think about it in the comments, and guys, if you do enjoy my conversation on YouTube, click the subscribe button, stick with us, and we'll have a lot more interviews, horror films, action film reviews on the way.